You want something. Success, love, freedom from the fears that bind you, the regrets that haunt you, the circumstances that seem to cage you. You crave it so intensely that it becomes almost tangible, something just within reach. Yet, no matter how hard you chase it, it slips further away. You find yourself trapped in a cycle of disappointment, drawing closer only to push it further out of grasp. Why does this happen? Why is it that so often, the more we pursue what we desire, the more we seem to attract its opposite? The answer lies in a paradox few dare to face. Perhaps we don't attract what we want at all. Instead, we attract what we are, not the image we hope to project, but the essence we carry deep within. At first, this sounds like a cruel twist of fate or a bitter joke. But what if it is the key to understanding the patterns that govern our lives? What if the universe doesn't respond to our wishes but to the truth of who we are beneath the surface? Beyond the conscious mind, beyond the masks we wear, lies a hidden self whose energy radiates outward, shaping everything we encounter. This is not a matter of positive thinking or wishful manifestation. It is a profound psychological reality. What you are, what you believe at your core, what you cannot or will not face within yourself. This is what draws your experiences to you. The reality you live is not an accident, but a mirror reflecting your inner world. And this truth extends beyond the individual. It weaves itself into the collective, into the culture, the power structures, the invisible forces that shape society. The desires we are sold, the dreams we chase, often mask who we really are. And in that mask lies the source of our deepest struggles. To change what you attract, you must first confront and change who you are. Throughout history, the idea that like attracts like has been a persistent thread woven into the fabric of human thought. From the ancient mysteries to the philosophical musings of great minds, this principle has echoed across time, not as a simple formula for wish fulfillment, but as a profound insight into the nature of existence. In the ancient world, Hermetic philosophy captured this truth in the cryptic axiom, "As above, so below." This phrase was not mere superstition, but a reflection of a universe where patterns repeat and inner realities mirror outer worlds. The microcosm and the macrocosm, the individual and the cosmos, are intimately linked. What occurs in one reflects what occurs in the other. Meanwhile, Stoic philosophers of antiquity taught that harmony with nature begins within. Marcus Aurelius urged an acceptance of one's nature and circumstances, emphasizing that the quality of one's inner character determines the experience of life. It was not enough to desire external success or happiness. Rather, one must cultivate virtue internally to shape a meaningful existence. Fast forward to the 19th and 20th centuries, and the ancient wisdom re-emerged, transformed by new cultural forces. The law of attraction, as popularly understood today, rose to prominence, promising that if you want it enough, your desires will manifest into reality. It became a mantra in self-help literature. Think positively, visualize success, and the universe will deliver. Yet this version is a superficial distortion of a far more complex truth. It reduces the mystery of human experience to a transactional formula, as if the mind were a vending machine dispensing rewards for correct input. The deeper philosophical question, the one concerning identity, perception, and reality, was lost. Carl Jung, the pioneering psychologist, brought new depth to this discourse with his concept of the shadow self. He argued that within every individual lies a hidden realm of repressed desires, fears, and contradictions. To become whole, one must confront these shadows, integrate them, and transcend illusions about the self. Until this work is done, one remains trapped, attracting experiences that mirror the unacknowledged inner turmoil. Friedrich Nietzsche took this further with his imperative to become who you are. He rejected conformity and superficial aspirations, urging instead a radical authenticity that embraces both light and darkness within. The path to true transformation, he insisted, requires honest self-creation, a process far removed from simply wishing for a better life. Modern psychology supports this ancient and philosophical wisdom with concepts such as self-concept and cognitive bias. Our beliefs about ourselves shape our perception of the world and influence our actions, often without our awareness. Confirmation bias ensures that we seek evidence supporting our existing self-image, reinforcing patterns that define what we attract. The essence of these ideas challenges the simplistic narrative of attract what you want. Instead, they suggest a profound interplay between who we are at our core and the reality we experience. We are not passive recipients of fate, but active participants in shaping the world through the unseen but powerful currents of identity and perception. To understand this principle fully, we must look beyond the surface of desire and examine the foundation of the self. Only then can we grasp why the life we attract often mirrors the unseen truths within us, and how transformation begins not with wishful thinking, but with the courageous journey inward. Beneath the surface of our conscious desires lies a vast and powerful realm, the subconscious mind. It is here, in this hidden landscape, that the true forces shaping our lives take root. While we may believe we are guided by rational choices and conscious intentions, much of what we attract is determined by patterns we are barely aware of, woven into the very fabric of our thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. The subconscious is not simply a passive storage of memories, but an active architect of our behavior, shaping the way we interact with others, respond to challenges, and even perceive reality itself. It operates silently, driving us toward outcomes that align with our deepest self-concept. Whether that self is confident or insecure, hopeful or fearful, whole or fragmented, one of the most insidious forces at play is confirmation bias. This cognitive tendency compels us to seek out and remember information that supports our existing beliefs while ignoring or dismissing what contradicts them. If deep down we see ourselves as unworthy or undeserving, we unconsciously interpret the world in ways that confirm this view. We attract people and situations that reinforce our self-image, creating a feedback loop that is difficult to break. Think of it as a psychological vibration, not in the mystical sense, but as a metaphor for the energy we project through our attitudes, body language, and emotional state. This energy is picked up by others and by circumstances, drawing toward us what resonates with our internal frequency. If we carry anxiety, resentment, or self-doubt, these feelings color our interactions and shape the reality we experience. Unresolved trauma and shadow aspects complicate this process further. The shadow, as Carl Jung described, contains those parts of ourselves that we reject, deny, or are unaware of, often because they are painful or socially unacceptable. These hidden wounds influence our behavior in subtle ways, steering us toward relationships and experiences that mirror the conflicts we have not yet faced or healed. For example, a person who has endured neglect may repeatedly find themselves in relationships where they are undervalued or abandoned, not because they want this consciously, but because their subconscious draws them toward familiar patterns. This dynamic perpetuates suffering until they confront and integrate these shadow elements, allowing for new possibilities to emerge. This understanding dismantles the simplistic idea that wishing or positive thinking alone can change our lives. Attraction is not a magic trick performed by the universe. It is a complex psychological process that requires honest self-examination. We must peel back layers of self-deception, face uncomfortable truths, and accept responsibility for the inner states that dictate our external world. The journey inward is often the hardest path because it demands vulnerability and courage. It challenges us to question long-held narratives about who we are and what we deserve. Yet, it is only through this deep work that we can shift the energy we emit, reshape our subconscious patterns, and begin to attract experiences that reflect our true potential rather than our hidden wounds. In this light, the principle, "you attract what you are," becomes not a condemnation, but an invitation. an opportunity to become the person whose life matches their highest aspirations. It is a call to embody the qualities we seek, to heal the parts of ourselves that sabotage growth, and to align our inner world with the reality we wish to create. Ultimately, this psychological insight reveals that attraction is not about controlling external outcomes, but mastering the internal landscape. When we understand and transform who we are beneath the surface, the life we draw to ourselves changes, not by chance but by design. Our understanding of attraction cannot be complete without looking beyond the individual psyche to the broader social forces that shape who we think we are and what we believe we want. The desires we chase are rarely born in isolation. Instead, they are often manufactured, packaged, and sold to us by powerful systems that benefit from our compliance and distraction. Media, advertising, and culture operate like invisible architects of our collective consciousness, constantly molding our perceptions of success, happiness, and identity. These forces do not merely reflect society, they create it. They decide which desires are legitimate, which goals are worthy, and what kind of life we should aspire to live. Consider consumer culture. It thrives on a relentless cycle of need and acquisition, convincing us that fulfillment lies just beyond the next purchase. New gadgets, fashion trends, and lifestyles are marketed as gateways to meaning and status, yet they often leave us emptier than before. This endless craving is no accident. It is engineered to keep us tethered to the marketplace, chasing illusions that never satisfy. Social media amplifies this phenomenon, magnifying the pressure to present an idealized version of ourselves while consuming curated realities that distort our expectations. It cultivates comparison, envy, and a compulsive desire for validation, further disconnecting us from authentic selfhood. We begin to perform not who we are, but who we think we should be, chasing approval in a digital theater. Political propaganda and mass media add another layer, shaping collective narratives and fears to direct public opinion and behavior. These systems exploit human psychology, our tribal instincts, emotional vulnerabilities, and cognitive biases to maintain control and influence. The desires they propagate are often less about individual freedom and more about sustaining power structures. Within this landscape, a profound conflict arises between the false self and the true self. The false self is the identity shaped by external expectations, conditioned by societal pressures and internalized messages. It is a mask constructed to gain acceptance, security, or advantage. The true self, by contrast, is the core of authentic being, untouched by manipulation, grounded in personal truth, and aware of one's intrinsic value. Many live ensnared in cycles of chasing the desires imposed by this false self. They attract outcomes that reinforce these illusions, perpetuating a loop of dissatisfaction and disconnection. The promises of fulfillment offered by culture and media often fall flat because they do not align with the deeper, authentic needs buried beneath the surface. This dynamic is not merely unfortunate, it is strategic. By keeping people focused on manufactured wants, those in power divert attention from systemic issues and the potential for genuine transformation. The fragmentation of identity weakens resistance, making individuals easier to influence and control. To break free requires more than awareness. It demands a reclamation of identity. It involves questioning whose desires we are pursuing and why. It calls for a return to introspection and self-honesty, discerning the difference between externally implanted cravings and authentic aspirations. Understanding. The tension between manufactured desires and the authentic self reveals why the principle, "you attract what you are," extends beyond personal psychology into the realm of social engineering. The lives we build and the realities we attract are shaped by both our inner truths and the external forces that seek to define us. Only by reclaiming our true selves can we begin to attract lives that reflect who we genuinely are, rather than the shadows cast by the desires imposed upon us. The principle that you attract what you are is not an abstract theory confined to philosophy or psychology. It plays out in the raw, often painful realities of daily life. The cycles we find ourselves trapped in, whether in relationships, careers, or communities, are reflections of the unresolved inner states we carry, often without full awareness. Take toxic relationships, for example. Time and again, people find themselves drawn to partners who mirror the very conflicts and wounds they have not healed within themselves. A person struggling with self-worth may attract a partner who devalues or dismisses them, perpetuating a painful cycle of rejection. This is not mere coincidence, but the subconscious drawing of familiar patterns. Until the internal turmoil is confronted and integrated, these relationships repeat, mirroring back the shadow aspects we refuse to face. Similarly, career stagnation often stems from a misalignment between one's true identity and the roles they inhabit. Someone who values creativity and autonomy, but remains stuck in a rigid, unfulfilling job, may find themselves frustrated and blocked. The external obstacles they encounter, lack of promotion, conflicts with authority, reflect the inner conflict between who they are and the life they are trying to live. Change becomes impossible not because the opportunities aren't there, but because the self has not yet transformed. On a larger scale, these patterns extend into society itself. The growing polarization and division we witness across cultures and nations can be understood as collective manifestations of fear, identity crisis, and unexamined narratives. Groups attract and amplify beliefs that reinforce their fears and biases, creating echo chambers that deepen the divide. These social fractures are not just political or ideological. They are rooted in the psychological realities people embody, often unconsciously. When we recognize that what we attract reflects who we are, the narrative changes. The victim mentality, the sense that external forces alone shape our lives, loses its grip. Instead, the focus shifts to the power within, the ability to break destructive cycles by changing the internal landscape. This shift is not easy. It demands courage to face uncomfortable truths about ourselves and the patterns we perpetuate. But it also opens the door to authentic connection. Relationships rooted in mutual understanding rather than projection, careers aligned with passion and purpose, and communities that embrace complexity rather than division. The stakes are personal and urgent because these cycles touch the core of human experience, our need for belonging, meaning, and growth. When we change what we are internally, the world around us begins to change in response. The life we attract becomes a reflection of a more integrated, healed, and authentic self. This understanding is a call to action, not to control the external world, but to transform the internal world that gives rise to it. Only by doing so can we create lives, relationships, and societies that reflect the truest parts of ourselves, breaking free from the patterns that hold us captive. If the reality we attract is a reflection of who we are, then transformation begins within. This is not a call for superficial change or fleeting motivation, but a profound invitation to embark on the most difficult and rewarding journey. The journey toward authentic selfhood. The first step is self-awareness. It demands honest self-examination, a willingness to look beyond surface desires and confront the hidden beliefs and emotions that govern our lives. This process requires courage to face the shadows within, those parts we often deny or reject, yet which quietly shape our reality. Healing these shadow aspects is essential. Integration means embracing the full spectrum of ourselves, the light and the dark, the strengths and the vulnerabilities. By doing so, we dissolve the internal conflicts that have bound us, freeing ourselves to radiate a coherent and genuine energy into the world. At the same time, we must cultivate authentic values. In a world saturated with manufactured desires, it is easy to lose sight of what truly matters. Authenticity calls us to align our actions and goals with our deepest truths, rather than chasing illusions imposed by culture or external expectations. Embracing personal responsibility is the final and most radical step. It is a recognition that, while we cannot control every circumstance, we can control how we respond and who we choose to become. Our identity is not fixed by past wounds, societal labels, or external validation. It is an ongoing act of creation shaped by conscious choice. This path forward is not simple, nor is it guaranteed to be comfortable. It requires vigilance against self-deception and a commitment to continual growth. But it is through this internal transformation that the external world begins to shift. When we change who we are, we change what we attract. Not through magic or wishful thinking, but through the alignment of inner truth and outward reality. In this way, the paradox resolves itself. You attract what you are, because what you are is the source of your influence. To live differently, to attract differently, is to become different. This moment is an awakening, an invitation to step out of cycles of frustration and into a life shaped by intention, authenticity, and power. The challenge is set. The choice is yours. The world you see around you is not separate from you. It is a mirror, reflecting the depths of your own being, the truths you choose to see, and those you resist. Every encounter, every challenge, every triumph is a reflection of the landscape within. Change, then, is never about altering the world first. It begins with facing yourself honestly, without disguise or denial. It requires the courage to meet your shadows, to embrace your fractured edges, and to claim the wholeness that lies beneath. This mirror can be unforgiving, exposing the parts of ourselves we fear most. Yet it is also the doorway to freedom. Because when you see yourself clearly, when you own who you are without judgment, the cycle breaks, the reflection shifts. You are not a passive observer in this dance. You are both the mirror and the image, the creator and the creation. To attract what you truly desire, you must become it, fully, unapologetically. Ask yourself, if the world is a mirror of who you are, what is it showing you now? And who are you willing to become so that the reflection changes? In the end, this is the profound paradox and the great hope that defines the human journey. You attract what you are, not what you want, and in that truth lies the power to transform everything.